Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. NFL Top 5 Hop on the Bandwagon Players for 2021. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can, either on here, patreon.com/NWSF, or the GoFundMe. And if you're looking for merch, Northwest Sports Fanatic merch, link is below every video on the YouTube page. Follow me, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at NW Sports Fanatics. So I was going to do a quick live stream today to kind of go over something I've been thinking about the last, last few days. And it's the top 5 hop on the bandwagon players before everyone knows how great they are in 2021. To kind of give you that ahead of the curve, 1 year early, or, seeing the vision on how good this player could possibly be. Could they end up being top 10 in their position? Could they be higher? Is there any possibility of these guys getting into the top 5 at their player position? It's very interesting, but I got a list, and a very good one, of my top 5 that I think as we're going forward into 2021, we definitely need to make sure that we're aware of who they are, what team they play for, and what kind of big season that they're going to end up having. And that's big facts. NFL Top 5 Hop on the Bandwagon Players as we go into 2021. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can, either on here, patreon.com/NWSF, or the GoFundMe. And if you're looking for merch, Northwest Sports Fanatic merch, link is below every video on the YouTube page. Follow me, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at NW Sports Fanatics. So with my list that I'm going to be going over here today, as we're hopping on the bandwagon for players that we need to take notice of, and let's start it off at number 5. So number 5 is a player, Laviska Shenault Jr. for the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, so this is a guy right now that I'm feeling that at any point can be the Taysom Hill of the position. So it's very exciting to see when we got players that can be like Taysom Hill, and they're going to really need a big part of that with Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence and ETN. But Laviska Shenault Jr., I feel, is one of those guys that's going to break out. He's going to be one of those bigger names as we're shifting into the 2021 season. So you want to make sure you're aware of, not a lot of people maybe watched the Jags last season, but you need to be aware of what type of player that he is. He's a game breaker. And I think with the Jags, if they're going to overachieve, they're going to need to be able to have that person that's going to be able to take off and take them to that next level. Nathan Dotson in the building. Yeah, I don't know what's up with YouTube, man. They're like delaying a lot of the requests, for notifications. A lot of people hit me up on text message or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And I don't know, man. I don't know what the formula is, but definitely not everyone is getting the notifications, but it's okay. All I can do is recommend to hit the bell, make sure you hit the settings for every new video or live stream. And then we can hang out and we can talk real quick about the NFL and my top 5 hop on the bandwagon players as we're going into 2021. And what do I mean by hop on the bandwagon? Obviously, we don't like bandwagon people, the people that are going to root for the team that's at the top, right? We had a lot of Patriot fans back in the day that did that, and with the Tom Brady success. But you want to be able just to root for your team, stick with them through the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right. But hopping on the bandwagon for certain players, Nathan Dotson, man, yeah, you just have to assume, since I moved now and I got the lighting and I got the setup, you should be checking anytime around 7 to 7:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, Pacific Coast time, and I'll probably be live streaming for anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, just depending on the day. Saturday and Sunday is going to be kind of up in the air. Usually have plans, with the girlfriend or friends, and I got other things going on. Unless there's something big that happens, then I'll do a stream, earlier. But usually around that window is when I would, if you're not getting them, change the settings if you need to. But, just assume that every Monday through Friday around 7 to 7:30 Pacific time, check if you don't get the notifications, and I'm probably live. And I'll probably be on there. I try to keep that window because I work from 8 to 4:30. So by the time I get home and I get relaxed, it's like, 4:45, 5, and then I need usually a couple hours of film study or research or thinking of something that I want to talk about. And then I end up trying to do the show around 7:30. And like I said, I want to try to keep to that as much as I can, as long as I don't have any like family emergencies or something that's pressing that I got to take care of. So if you haven't smashed the like button, please do. This is a good show right here I got for you because I'm going to really wake a lot of y'all eyes up. Some guys you're going to hear me talk about and you already know, but I want to press the issue on what it is. Amber M in the building. Yo, yo, yo. NFL top 5. Hop on the bandwagon players early. Do it now with me as I tell you of the greatness that this is going to happen to these type of players, and you want to know about it before they're already made. You want to already know about it a year early and point out to your friends and your colleagues, people in fantasy football you want to talk shit to, or guys that you need to draft. You can point out this talent that I'm talking to you about, because who else is going to watch the film and break down players and do the reading as much as your boy? So I've definitely got that credibility. Tyshawn Mullins in the building as well. So some of the names, everyone is going to think that, okay, we all agree. But there's going to be also names that, maybe are a little bit newer to the scene and you don't realize how good that I think that they're going to be. And I think that they're going to break out. And I think there's, a time to put a good notice on some of the players. Nathan Dotson, I think Tennessee will be better, but won't make an AFC championship game, I don't think. Like I said, they're one of the teams, in the running. Chiefs, Browns, Bills, in that order, got to be the top 3. But anything can happen with the Titans and the Colts and the Patriots, maybe the Chargers and the Dolphins this season as well. And maybe even a surprise team like Denver if, we can get Aaron Rodgers to get traded over there. So it'll be interesting, but I wouldn't count out Tennessee at all. I mean, they did make an AFC championship game, a couple years ago, and we didn't think that would be really possible, did we? Back then. But Ryan Tannehill, underrated. King Henry, best running back, not named AK-41, right? You got A.J. Brown, top 10 wide receiver, right? You got Julio now, top 10 wide receiver. So, it's looking good. Bud Dupree on the defense, but you don't really got a lot of defensive pieces. Offensive line is a little thin. You do have coaching, but also Jonnu Smith, the tight end, and Corey Davis no longer being there is definitely going to affect them. But going on this hop on the bandwagon players, Bucks are definitely one. Memopolis, yeah, no, there is no hop on the bandwagon players. The players that, that's a too obvious one. Like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, obviously not getting the recognition until they actually got a deep playoff run with Brady and won the Super Bowl. They've always been great. It's just no one really seemed to notice or wants to care. Kind of like Allen Robinson, as well as Keenan Allen. They're both top 10 wide receivers, but they don't get talked about enough. Even Stephon Diggs, another guy who's a top 10 wide receiver. Some guys get more pub than others. It depends sometimes on what team you're on, what market you're on, if you're likable or not, or if people are just dumb, you know what I mean? And they just don't realize that Allen Robinson is a top 10 wide receiver. I would take him in a heartbeat over so many players in the NFL. Same thing goes for Keenan Allen, who's better than Allen Robinson by a couple, spots or notches, but people don't think that he's on the same level as like a Mike Evans or, a DeAndre Hopkins or a Michael Thomas or a Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf or any of the studs that are out there, and he actually is. So, got to kind of put you guys on notice and let you guys know. But a lot of y'all know, and, we are the Northwest Sports Fanatics, so we definitely pay attention. We read, we watch the film, and that's why I want to give out these names now. So if you're going to be doing fantasy football or you want new guys to look out for other than your favorite players, these are the guys that are going to be able to take their games to the next level, and then you want to be a year early and be like, told you so. You know what I mean? Make yourself look like a fucking genius, watching a program like this, all right? So hop on the bandwagon players, my NFL top 5 at number 5. Number 5 is a player that's going to be playing with Trevor Lawrence. Urban Meyer at the head coach with ETN at running back. They're going to need a gadget guy like Taysom Hill, and enter who? LaVisca Chenault Jr. for the Jags. He's going to be a guy that started to slowly break out, but depending on how they utilize Tebow in the red zone, LaVisca should get a lot of reverses. He can get screen passes, slants. He can run the quarterback, wide receiver, running back position. So he definitely is a triple threat. Watch out for LaVisca Chenault Jr. to make huge strides from last year. Now with the Jags and who, Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence's year 1, including ETN. LaVisca Chenault Jr. going to be a weapon. He's going to be someone that's going to be a sleeper in fantasy. And I think that definitely Trevor Lawrence is going to have, certain weapons like Shark, DJ Shark. He's going to be looking that way first, right? But LaVisca Chenault Jr., keep an eye out. You got to keep a guy a sleeper. You got to keep on an eye on some of these guys that you may know who they are, you may not. But I'm not going to be that easy though. Tebow, I'm not. Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, in my opinion, is going to be on the cusp of being top 5 quarterback at the end of the year, especially if they make the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? He's already top 10 in my book in the NFL today. And it's not necessarily just me being an Oregon Duck super fan, even though I am. And I got the Joey Harrington limited edition white sewn jersey on. All right. Very, very rare to find it in the white. I'm rocking it. But Justin Herbert is too easy. I got to give you the sleeper names that you may or may not know about unless you read or you're really into the game. Number 5, Laviska Shenault Jr. Keep an eye out. You play fantasy, ask me questions. He's a sleeper. He'd be a good one to have just sitting there waiting in the wings, depending on how Trevor Lawrence and him can connect. Okay? Number 4. Number 4 is going to be with a guy that we know as Debo. And we ain't talking Friday, next Friday, Friday after next. But we're talking about Debo Samuel linking up with your boy, Brandon Ayuk. People say it 2 different ways, but the bottom line is Brandon has got some game. You pair him up with Debo, George Kittle, and eventually you're going to go from Jimmy G to Trey Lance. And I know he is going to pop off. Ayuk, whatever way you want to say it, and Debo Samuel are 2 of the more underrated up-and-coming wide receivers in their element. Obviously they're athletic, they got good footwork, they're agile, they can get into the end zone, and they can go for good yak yards after the catch. I don't think people really realize how good Brandon Ayuk really is. Even Debo Samuel as well. But I'm trying to give names that are a little bit lower. Courtland Sutton is already a made man, Xavier. If you're in the football circles, he's already wide receiver number 1. Jerry Jeudy is 2. Courtland Sutton is the guy. There is no more Demaryius Thomas. There is no more Emmanuel Sanders in his prime. Courtland Sutton was the 3rd option back in the day, but now he's the number 1. So for me, in fantasy, where he's, a top, I would say probably 13 wide receiver in the league. So he's right after the top 10, but he's like the next tier, after like Diggs and, after that, DK Metcalf. He's like kind of in that general same range with Justin Jefferson. Sutton is a true number 1 wide receiver. That one's too easy. If I'm going to do this list, I can go for, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Courtland Sutton. And I'm not saying that those are bad, but those ones to the hardcore athlete, fan appreciation of the NFL and what it is. I got to give you guys something deeper. I'm not going to just give you something on ESPN or Fox Sports or something that you're not putting a whole lot of thought into it. You got to go by the breakdown and the names that aren't that big yet. And that way, by next year, okay, you're going to remember these guys' names a little bit more because they're going to get more pub, but they're going to start playing better. Nat, Ryu, Kirk Cousins in the building, Cash Out Hybrid in the building. So a lot of them are good. And obviously, the Justin Herbert, I'm already on him. So some people aren't, but that's already a done deal. Courtland Sutton is a great example, though. That is a good option, but I got to go deeper. But you know what I mean? Some people don't know Courtland Sutton. You may, but that's a great one. All right. But number 5, Laviska Shenault Jr. All right. A little bit less well-known than Courtland Sutton. All right. At number 4, Brandon Ayuk. I think he's really going to take off in his game this season. People will talk about Debo. People will talk about Trey Area at quarterback, Trey Lance. George Kittle hopefully stays healthy for the full season, right? Debo will get his love. But Brandon, it's his time. I need him to shine, and he could be a sleeper guy on fantasy as well. Number 4, Brandon Ayuk, a.k.a. Ayuk. You can say it many ways. I've heard it all. All right. Number 3 is a player that's going to be battling it out with James the Terminator Conner. And I have a kind of a feeling this guy might be better. Who is it? We're talking about running back stud, right? That you don't even know that's a stud, but he is. Chase Edmonds. All right. I think the Cardinals are going to the playoffs this season. Kyler Murray takes his game to the next level. Edmonds and James the Terminator Conner, formerly of the Steelers, are on the same squad. But I think Chase Edmonds gives you that better pass-catching running back out of the backfield. He's a little bit more athletic, right? He doesn't have to be all downhill, and I think he's going to be able to put them in a good position, not only in fantasy football rankings, maybe having that 3rd running back and having Chase Edmonds, but I think that at some point he could be the full-time starter with James the Terminator Conner, even though he might have the name recognition. I would go with the guy that's there, and I would start with Chase, even though he's a 3rd down back. He can play all 3 downs, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. He's a change of pace back, but I think if you give him a full-time role, we can really see how great Chase Edmonds really is. All right? And then as I'm going over, other running backs, I'll got to mention Antonio Gibson from the Washington football team. Another sleeper. DeAndre Swift from the Detroit Lions. You had Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson, MCDC's there now. They're going to pound the rock. I can include guys like that as well. I've thought of those guys are in my honorable mentions if I was doing like a top 10 list. DeAndre Swift would definitely be on there. Antonio Gibson would be on there. Kendrick Bourne's another sleeper as well. All right. But I got to give you deep names that I think that are actually going to really surprise people, like more than you ever expected. Laviska Shenault Jr., is a guy that could go from a couple touchdowns to somewhere between 5 to 10, like a huge jump, all right, because they have who? And it's not the mustache warrior that we all love, Gardner Minshew, all right? They're talking about Trevor Lawrence, all right? Not Martin Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence, all right? Number 4, Brandon Ayuk, love him. Niners, bang, bang, Niner gang. They're going to go to the playoffs this season. You heard it here first. The schedule is easy. They're going to stay healthy. They're going to not regret getting Jimmy G for, absolutely potato chips and scraps and trading them away for like a 6th or 7th rounder, or who knows what they would do. I mean, I would hope that you would try to get at least a 1st to 3rd rounder out of Jimmy G, even though he's mid-tier quarterback, and he's always going to be like that. I don't think he's ever going to be top 10. Always kind of middle of the pack, makes mistakes, big interceptions at the big moment, but he still has the leadership that if anything happens to Trey Lance, that you still have an opportunity to win games because he won't turn over the football. So big ups to him. Even though I'm not a big fan of him, I think that they could have a better quarterback. I mean, it's hard to go from, Joe Montana to Steve Young to Jeff Garcia to, Kaepernick did his thing, you know what I mean? But it definitely hasn't been the same as the Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and Steve Young era. That's facts. I mean, Steve Young, best left-handed quarterback ever, period. I mean, there's, other guys out there, Michael Vick and, many, many others. But I think Steve Young, Boomer Esiason was great, but I got to go Steve Young, even though Michael Vick was something else and a few others, okay? It all depends on perspective. Number 5, Laviska Shenault. Number 4, Brandon Ayuk. Number 3, Chase Edmonds. Remember the name in fantasy football. If you have him at running back number 3, that might help you win a couple weeks. He might end up getting in the end zone twice. If you go back and look at his stat line for being a part-time back, pretty amazing, right? I always have to look at those sleeper players that people don't really know, but if they're going to have a great year, right, and they're going to go to the playoffs, Laviska Shenault and the Jags are not going to go. But Brandon Ayuk, right, I feel that Ayuk, he's going to be a guy that's going to help the Niners get to the playoffs. Chase Edmonds, I feel that is going to help that Cardinals team get to the playoffs, all right? Number 3, Chase Edmonds. All right, number two is a player that I have to go over that was close to my number 1. It's almost 1A, 1B. This is the breakout running back in 2021 that's not a rookie, not someone that's, like a Run CMC or Saquon Barkley, but take notice to this name. We're talking about the Ramley, and we're talking about Cam Akers. I am very high on the Rams. They were the Buccaneers' biggest threat in the game today. All right, for the NFC. You got Aaron Donald, you got Jalen Ramsey. They lost a few pieces, on defense, but they still have studs all over that are up and coming for the Ramley and the Los Angeles Rams. Plus, you got rid of Jared Goff, you have Matthew Stafford. So who's going to benefit from that? Not only Sean McVay, but the number 1 people and the number 1 group, obviously wide receiving core, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, very underrated. They're going to benefit. But Cam Akers, remember that name. It's going to be a breakout running back. So you heard before, when they had, Brown and, they were mixing up with a 3-headed horse for the Rams, right? So Malcolm Brown was there and he played a little bit, got a little banged up, and, Cam Akers just got to shine kind of towards the end. All right. But I feel that if you give him 20 touches, 20 to 25 touches a game as the main dude, right? The Rams can have not a Todd Gurley, but they're going to get a, close as Todd Gurley as you can get impact out of a running back. Everyone's going to be able to benefit from that, having Matthew Stafford. So I'm very excited to see Cam Akers really establish himself as like a Josh Jacobs or a Jonathan Taylor, guys that came in right away and got the recognition. Cam Akers didn't really get to show you exactly everything that he's got to offer, just yet. There's a few other running backs like, one on Philly. We know who he is, Miles. So, you got a lot of these guys that are right on the up-and-coming cusp, but I don't think anyone really is huge on Laviska Shenault Jr. just yet, Brandon Ayuk just yet, Antonio Gibson or DeAndre Swift just yet, right? Chase Edmonds especially, unless you play fantasy and you go deep. Cam Akers, I think that no one's really thinking about him. I think that everyone's thinking about all the other running backs that are out there, but you got to see who's going to be good, who's going to make a playoff push, who's going to run the football a lot. And I think Cam Akers is going to get a lot of opportunities to show that he can ball out. And number 1, is going to be the guy that might lead the league in yards. He might lead the league in touchdowns. He might lead the league in many, many categories. Yak yards. I mean, we don't really know what we're going to get. But what I do know is with Julio Jones gone, even though Kyle Pitts might be the next, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, it's looking like it. It's looking like it. That duo is going to be just like how you had, back in the day with Julio and Roddy White. Maybe you're going to have something with Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts, but Calvin Ridley is going to be one of those guys that's going to get 10 to 15 opportunities every game. He's going to be the number one guy besides Kyle Pitts at tight end. He's going to get a lot of opportunities to get in the end zone, multiple touchdown games. He can run the slant, toe drag swag. He can run the post. He's got great hands, played at Bama. So it's one of those things where Calvin Ridley is going to be considered that first wide receiver that's off the board, right, after all the big names. But if you're smart, you could actually pick Calvin Ridley with the first pick, right, at wide receiver, even though a lot of people will go, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson. There's a lot of other sexier names that you're going to go over. But if you pick a Calvin Ridley in like the first or second round and you get him, fantasy football-wise, he's going to tear it up. He's going to tear it up. He's going to get so many opportunities. So sometimes it's not just the player that you are or who your quarterback is how many targets are you going to get per game. So let's say, you get DeAndre Hopkins gets 8 a game, but Ridley's getting, 13. I mean, sometimes getting that guy that gets 5 more looks, that might be 5 more grabs. That might be a couple more touchdowns. So Calvin Ridley to me is the next superstar wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb, another one, okay? Dallas Cowboys, you're going to watch and you're going to see Calvin Ridley, big things, like taking over that next level of those other wide receivers that are getting older. Calvin Ridley has the opportunity to be top 10 wide receiver moving forward after this year if he ends up balling out like I think he's going to be, right? He's going to be a household name, kind of like a Julio when he was there. Calvin Ridley, okay? But also, like I said, CeeDee Lamb is another one. And another one, Skull, Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson. I think that Justin Jefferson right now is a top 10 wide receiver in the league. And I feel that he's looking at top 5. And I think that he is one of those guys, if you could pick a guy that would, continue to progress and beyond that DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Tyreek the Freak Hill, that freak of nature, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, that top 5 conversation of wide receiver like Julio. And I definitely feel that he's the guy. He's the main guy. There's a lot of others that you could consider, to be up in the high rankings. But Justin Jefferson, though, I'm a big fan. Think he could be top 5 sooner than later. He's that damn good. And it's going to be exciting to see what Jamar Chase does. Joe Burrow, another guy I could have had on the list, like a Justin Herbert. But Joe Burrow's too easy. I know he's going to break out. I know Jamar Chase is going to be good. And there's a chance that they can finish 3rd in the AFC North. It could end up being the Browns, right? The Ravens, the Bengals, Steelers. I've said that before. I'm not really sold on the Steelers. So, the Bengals don't have a defense and their offensive line is trash, but they got weapons. So you're going to be able to see Burrow if he can stay upright. There's a chance that they could get close to 7 to 9 games this season. And that might be enough to get 3rd place, depending on how bad Pittsburgh does or, who gets injured or how they play. That's just my personal feeling. A lot of things can kind of happen. Let's take a quick look here. Kendrick Bourne, good one. I like that. Cash out hybrid. We're getting closer to extensions with Leonard and Braden Smith. Sarah Small in the building. Sorry to get off track, Ryan, but what do you think about Ian Book? People overhyped him so much that it annoys me. Well, Amber, you know it as being a Saints fan, right? And like I told you, people would rather see Book on the field if Jameis fucks up in the regular season. Yeah, but if you're a Saints fan, right, there's some passionate Saints fans, right? And there's also Saints fans that are delirious, that they're going to, defend, right, a player or a situation or whatever, right, for the Saints, even though if they know they're 100% dead wrong, they'll look you in the eye and lie to you. You know what I mean? They're going to back whoever, is on the team. And then you'll get some people that are maybe a little bit more realists, I try to just, keep it real all the time, right? But like you said, Ian Book, okay, but, I thought, when you guys drafted, in your draft, it could have been a lot better. My NWSF chain was slipping off, man. Had to make sure we were Gucci. Had to make sure we're Gucci with the chain, okay? But Ian Book and all the draft picks that the Saints have, they developed their players, but, there was other options that you could have went to make things better. To make things better. So, they went for players that were their fit for their system. I don't know if they're going to pan out, but in past years, you've hit on the head with some certain, studs, Marshawn Lattimore and, AK-41, you've gotten some good players over the years, the offensive lines, you got a lot of studs there, but NFL top 5, hop on the bandwagon players right now, today, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash the fucking like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can, either on here, patreon.com/NWSF, or the GoFundMe or the Cash App. Help your boy out. And if you're looking for merch, Northwest Sports Fanatic merch, link is below every video on the YouTube page. Follow me, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at NW Sports Fanatics. I got the fresh Joey Harrington, 2001 white sewn jersey. It's a special occasion today. I'm feeling good, all right? We just want this NFL season and college football season to get going. But I wasn't impressed, really with the Saints draft. And a lot of people that are Saints fans, if they're just going to be defensive, right? Oh, Ryan's talking shit, or he's just a Bucs fan. A lot of other Saints fans weren't really too thrilled with it either. So it's not like, I'm the type of guy that's going to stir up confrontation. There's enough of that on, Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and podcasts, a bunch of fake bullshit, people arguing for shit that doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll call it how I see it. It's real. People can agree with me. People can disagree. But a lot of people can see where I'm coming from, and I'll say things that maybe other people won't say. And I'll just keep it real, 100. And a lot of people can't do that. But not really big on Ian Book. None of the draft picks you picked, I was really excited for. Can some of them pan out? Sure. But I wasn't thrilled with it. I thought there was a couple other options. Asante Samuel Jr. going to the Chargers. If you would have got him late first round or a wide receiver, I think that they would have cheered a little bit more and been a little bit more excited. But, it is what it is. We go see what Matthew Stafford going to do. He's going to be great. He's going to be a top 10 quarterback this season. You watch. Cam Akers, he's going to be phenomenal. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, best friend. Come on, man. They have the top two coaches that I love, Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. All right, of course that I know that they're going to be. They got to a Super Bowl with fucking Jared Goff. It shows you how great of a coach Sean McVay really is. Jared Goff isn't horrible, right? But he's middle of the pack. He's the same thing as a Jimmy Garoppolo. That's like the closest, exact example that you can give. Sometimes Jared Goff is great. Sometimes Jared Goff is not. Maybe Kirk Cousins is another guy you could throw as a comparison. Sometimes Kirk looks great. Jared Goff looks great, right? But then other times you're like, holy shit, 1 touchdown, 5 picks. What the fuck is going on here, right? But it's about the coaching, the play calling, the system. Obviously it helps when you have a Todd Gurley as well. But, Cam Akers, he ain't no slouch either. But Matthew Stafford's going to ball out. Jacob Harris watched a film, Scary, Ruiz. And I got your boy Cam Akers. I had him 1A, 1B. And I'll go over the list here real quick. Calvin Ridley would not have a great year. He's the number 1 wide receiver now. They're going to double him up. The thing is that they can double him up, but he doesn't really gain that respect to double him up just yet. He's Calvin Ridley, right? He's not like a Julio Jones or a DeAndre Hopkins, right? Or a Devontae Adams or a DK Metcalf. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not established yet. So why would they double him? You know what I mean? They're not going to give him sorry about that. Knock some shit over like I'm doing. But they don't give him that respect because he hasn't proven it just yet. So I don't think that they're going to, double team him as a respect of being like a top 5 wide receiver. He's not even in the top 10 just yet. He's trying to on the outside looking in, right? So I think that if he got doubled, that's fine, but he's still going to get grabs. He went to Bama. He's got good hands. He's physical. He's kind of like a Godwin. I definitely see if anyone I could compare him to is like a Chris Godwin. Guys that are underrated, guys that have great hands, guys that can be a number 2 wide receiver on one team, but then if he goes to another team, Chris Godwin can be a true number 1 for any team in the NFL. Facts, right? But he wasn't that good right away. It took a couple years for him to develop, right? But Ridley, even if he got doubled, he's going to get probably the most looks out of any wide receiver in this league. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, who knows? We don't know if Rodgers is suiting up, right? Russell Wilson and DK and Tyler get to the door, and Lockett's going to get a lot of opportunities if Russ, is suited up, which he will be, right? But Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, not sexy names, but those are 2 of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL, period. That's facts for like middle of the pack receivers, somewhere between that like 15 and 30 mark. Those 2 guys are in the top 20, but they get talked about like they're in the top 40. They don't get enough love. So I definitely got to let people know and put people on notice. But again, number 5, Laviska Shenault Jr. for the Jacksonville Jags. He's the Taysom Hill of the Jags. Urban Meyer will plug him in just as well as they'll plug Tim Tebow as well. But Laviska Shenault can play quarterback. He can play the read option, the RPO, running back, wide receiver. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to take his game to the next level. Laviska Shenault Jr. NFL Top 5. Hop on the Bandwagon Players now. Hop on the bandwagon players now before they blow up. Number 4, Brandon Ayuk, San Francisco 49ers, pairing up with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. Ayuk, stud. All right, he's going to be a guy that I think that everyone knows Deebo, but they don't even give Deebo Samuel a lot of love just yet. They need to have that stud, that Trey area, once he starts over, takes over, and doesn't look back, with Jimmy G. Then you're going to see Deebo, Brandon, Kittle, everyone take their games to the next level. I got the Niners going to the playoffs this season, and guess what? Brandon Ayuk, as well as Deebo Samuel, big part of San Francisco's success this season. You got Bosa and Fred Warner on the flip side. Love them. Easy schedule this year. They're making the playoffs. Stamp it right here. Lego my ego. See the logo. Enough said. My boy. Kansas City Chiefs. Number 4, San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Ayuk. What's good? Lego my ego? Number 5, Laviska Shenault Jr. Number 4, Brandon Ayuk. Number 3 is a player that you probably don't even know exists. But if you watch the Arizona Cardinals, you know they are going to the playoffs this season. You heard it here first. Kyler Murray will take his game to the next level. J.J. Watt is old as shit. But he will help Chandler Jones in the defense with Budda Baker, and they will make a playoff push. Chase Edmonds is going to pair up with James the Terminator Conner. Get to the chopper. But guess what? Chase Edmonds is a third down back. He might be a guy that you don't think that could be in every down back, but he's more explosive, a better pass catcher in the backfield. Chase Edmonds is going to be a big reason where you can get over 10 tutters with Chase. I think he's better than James the Terminator Conner, and that's saying something, because James the Terminator Conner is a top 13 running back in this league when healthy, but he got banged up, and we don't really know how great he is at this point with a lot of up-and-coming running backs that might be better. Look out. Chase Edmonds. Fantasy football, sleeper. Laviska Shenault, sleeper. Brandon Ayuk, sleeper. Chase Edmonds, sleeper. And then other guys, like I mentioned before, DeAndre Swift, he's going to break out. Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson, MCDC's there. They're going to pound the fucking rock. They're going to want to bite your ankles and eat them and rip them off, just like he said in the press conference. DeAndre Swift, another one. Easy for me because I can go deep. All right, Antonio Gibson, right? Washington football team, Antonio Gibson. People don't recognize how great he is. Baller. Everyone talks about the D-line and Chase Young. They got Ryan Fitzmagic there. Some with a cicada in his beard in a picture, smiling. Cicada's a bug. Just putting you on notice. All right, look up the picture. Antonio Gibson at running back. Scary Terry McLaurin, another underrated guy that can take his game to the whole next level. All right, but they need someone after Ryan Fitzmagic. Another guy. But as we move forward, number 2, I definitely could have put at number 1. It's almost 1A, 1B. But I got to go with my boy on the Ramily. All right, we know Robert Woods. We know Cooper Kupp. We know Matthew Stafford. Right? We know what's what and who's going where. All right, but Sean McVay, favorite weapon. It's not going to be Matthew Stafford. It's going to be number 2, Cam Akers. All right, Cam Akers is a stud. He barely got a chance to really show what he could do. He was the man at Florida State with the worst offensive line on planet fucking Earth times like a million. All right, they had no O-line, and he still was able to make plays, shake and bake. All right, just like Talladega Nights. Shake and bake if you want to be like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Shake and bake. Cam Akers, the closest thing to Todd Gurley you're going to see, and they're going to go to the playoffs. Cooper Kupp's going to play great. Robert Woods is going to play great. Cam Akers is going to play better. Can't wait to see him on the field. Number 2, Cam Akers. And I debated him, putting him at number 1. I mean, it was very close. Instead of 1-2, it's like 1A, 1B. I really think that people don't know who Cam Akers is. You will, especially once they end up, if I think, hey, maybe NFC Championship game against who? Maybe Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A little NFC Championship game, Rams, Bucks. That's what I want to see. And if they get that point, then you're going to know how great Cam is, because he's going to have a fantastic season. I mean, he could have top 10 running back stats at the end of the year, even with all the weapons that Stafford is going to be throwing to. I know they're going to pound the rock, and he's a good pass catcher too, Cam Akers. So I love him. Number 2, Cam Akers. Number 1, it's a sure thing. Like I'm telling you, the next, superstar, wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. I mean, obviously when Matt Ryan leaves, they're going to need to replace him and get someone that can get him the ball and develop that chemistry. But Calvin Ridley, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, those are the next 3 big next thing wide receivers. As we're going at, fuck it if you get double team. Jefferson's still going to get his. Ridley's going to get his. CeeDee Lamb is going to get his, all right? Out of those three, those are the next three superstars. And you heard it here first. Your boy watches film. I watch these guys in college. You can tell based on the progression of the player. If you watch the workouts, the OTAs, the preseason, you look at the film, you look at the different photos, the practices, the articles, you can tell that these guys are on the cusp of trying to be, top 10 wide receivers, even though they may not be considered top 10 just yet. Calvin Ridley probably on the outside looking in, maybe somewhere between 11 and 20, right? Same thing goes for Justin Jefferson, maybe 11 to 14, right on the outside looking in. But some people might think top 10 based on what he did in his first season, getting the 1,400 yards and breaking the rookie record. All right, CeeDee Lamb, another guy, the most athletic wide receiver in that draft, a guy that could go crazy. He's got Dak Prescott. He's going to ball out. But people don't realize CeeDee Lamb to me is better than Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. And Amari Cooper is considered in some circles a top 10 wide receiver. I like CeeDee Lamb's long-term potential even higher than Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, he's got good hands. He can run good routes, but he just kind of plays boring. You know what I mean? He just kind of runs, pass, screen away, like just that type of like basketball, football, like just doing everything by the book. And there's no like razzle dazzle, a little shimmy and a little shake, going up and, adjusting your body, twisting it sideways and coming up with the one hand grab. Amari Cooper don't do that. That's going to be more of a CeeDee Lamb, but CeeDee Lamb can do so many things. Toe drag swag, run every route. He's got the confidence. He's got the drip. He's got the swag. I would want CeeDee Lamb on my team in a heartbeat. Same thing with Justin Jefferson and Calvin Ridley. But like I said, this show is to educate you that even though those guys are pretty good, maybe you don't realize how great they can be. And I can kind of usually see it coming. And I don't think I've really been wrong on, players that I feel that are going to break out. I told you Chris Godwin a couple years ago, he did. Michael Gallup a couple years ago, he did. I mean, pretty much on the ones I feel that they're going to be the next thing. I mean, it just the film says it all. You just got to be able to go out there and watch it. NFL Top 5, hop on the bandwagon players as we go into 2021 with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash the fucking like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can, either on here, patreon.com/NWSF, or the GoFundMe, or hit me on the Cash App. Please do. And if you're looking for merch, Northwest Sports Fanatic merch, link is below every video on the YouTube page. Follow me, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at NW Sports Fanatics. NWSF Chain Gang in the building. Lego my ego. Message from a Golden Eagle. What it do? Cash out hybrid. What it do? Ruiz LA Rams. Hey, I'm giving Cam Akers some love, my guy. Yo, I heard the funniest thing today. I heard that the Chiefs ain't nothing. The O-line is still trash, and the only weapons we have is Kelsey and Hill. Well, that's obviously from someone that, doesn't know football. They're the, probably the favored team out of all teams to win the most games during the regular season, even more than the Tampa Bay Bucks. Kansas City could win. They got a tough schedule, though. The Bucks have an easier schedule to get the wins. But even if we go, instead of 11-5 like before, if it's 11-6, 12-5, 11, 12 wins is still good. I mean, sometimes it's good to lose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times and learn what it's like to lose and make the adjustments instead of just winning every game or just clipping people barely, sometimes to get a loss on your belt or a big blowout loss. Like, thank you so much, Nolans Saints, for beating me week 1 and then beating me in week 9, right, at home, 38-3, because, that really woke us up. Right, as well as the Chiefs beating us with Tyreek did the backflip, right? Then we went into the bye. Then we rifled off like 8, 9 straight wins and won the Super Bowl. So sometimes you need to have those tough losses and get punched in the fucking mouth. But even though we lost 38-3, I mean, to the Rams, we only lost by 3, Chiefs 3, Bears, by like 1, 2, 3, like, what I'm saying? Like, we didn't really get blown out. I mean, the Saints might have beat us by like 10 or so, first time around, 10 to 17 points. That's usually, kind of the ass beating the Bucks would end up getting, if not worse. But usually losing by 10 to 17 was kind of a regular thing, right? Week 1 was no different last season. But then the 38-3, I mean, that was definitely shocking. But, you just got to keep working at it, persevere, and, find a way to get hot at the right time. But, yeah, I love the Chiefs and what they've done. I think as far as the overall offseason, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, number 1, Kansas City Chiefs, number 2, New England Patriots, number 3, Los Angeles Chargers, number 4, right? And trying to think of who I would have at number 5 is having just an amazing, and then I'd probably say the New York Football Giants at number 5. Making the right adjustments in the off season, bringing in the right personnel, me keeping all 22 starters on offense and defense in the coaching staff. New England bringing in all the pieces, Hunter Henry from the Chargers and Jonnu Smith and Nelson Aguilar. I mean, giving Cam as much time with some of those weapons, or it might be Mac Jones. But, if you look at certain teams and Justin Herbert and getting the, Rashawn Slater and then protecting them and Bulaga, and they got a good O-line, and Austin Eckler is underrated, and, Derwin James might be healthy, and I got the Chargers going to the playoffs. So that I have already kind of a guide and a gauge already. I got that ESP. I haven't got a Super Bowl winner wrong in like 20 years. Apologize. I'm just knocking over all my fucking lighting and everything. Just had to get it taken care of. But yeah, I mean, like I said, with what I was saying there, it's one of those things you got to be able to persevere and stick with it. And sometimes you end up, getting the most out of your guys, and sometimes you don't. But I mean, I kind of have a gauge right now with the ESP and how I'm feeling. But Rams, I like that. Niners, Cardinals, maybe Seattle's the team that's on the odd way out. Saints, I think, aren't going to make it. Panthers or Falcons. Tampa Bay's in. As far as a NFC East, that's a little bit tougher. Washington football team's got the best defense. Dak has got the best offense with the Cowboys. Eagles, I don't think you're going to go to the playoffs. They got 3 first-rounders. I know Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith will play great. Miles Sanders should be good, but lack of depth maybe on O-line and continuity, and Zach Ertz no longer being there, even though I love Dallas Goedert, and he can be a top 5, top 6 tight end in this league. Defense, Fletcher Cox getting a little bit older. You still got Darius Slay, Big Play Slay, and a few others back there, but I'm not sure. I don't see them. The Giants might be kind of the wild card, that even though the Cowboys got the best offense, but they got no D. Washington's got a D and probably an above average O, but is it good enough to win the division? Maybe, we'll have to wait and see. But the Giants, they're kind of like the sleeper. They could have made it last year if Saquon didn't get hurt. I like their coach, Joe Judge, the most out of the coaches there in the division. I feel that he's one of those guys that will really fire him up and get him motivated. Saquon's healthy for a full season. The only one you don't trust is Danny Dimes. You got Kadarius Toney, from Florida. You got lots of weapons out there. Galladay. I mean, there's a lot of weapons out there. Slayton. So many options, They even got, Kyle Rudolph from the Vikings. I mean, it's crazy. The Giants got a lot of talent, and then the defense, they brought in the right pieces. So I'm thinking, if you want to think outside the box, and you got to think about teams that go from last to first or a wild card. Washington won it last year. Dallas always seems to disappoint us, at some point or another, or someone gets hurt, right? The Eagles team is a little bit too young. So I think it would be more coming to the Cowboys, the Washington football team, or the Giants, but I kind of like the Giants as of like today. I mean, I know it's like June 9th, what does that mean? But I kind of like the Giants the most overall as far as balance, head coach, and, the only piece I don't really like is Danny Dimes, but he might be able to prove himself, and he can make enough plays, kind of like Eli, good Eli, bad Eli, one good year from Eli, one bad year from Eli. So maybe he can turn into an Eli Manning-ish, type of quarterback and, get on our good side, but too much inconsistency, but he's got the most weapons he's ever had, kind of like Baker Mayfield. So now it's like kind of, put up or shut up, or we're replacing you next year, and we're going to end up getting a stud, at maybe a top 15 pick, and we'll trade up to maybe top 5. So look out for the Giants as kind of my sleeper as of right now. Buccaneers, all right, and then you end up getting the Rams, Niners, Cardinals, Seattle on the outs. Depending on a Green Bay and Rodgers, if he's there, he's in. They won the division. Now you got to think Minnesota and Kirk Cousins, but the defense is still a little shaky to me. They improved it a lot in the draft, but losing Everson Griffin and losing some of those, Danielle Hunter, those impact guys. When you're losing certain impact guys either due to injury or they're no longer on your team and they get rid of you, then you're bringing in other guys that hopefully can get the job done. Diggs is gone, but you got Justin Jefferson, you got Adam Thielen, you got Dalvin Cook, you got Kirk Cousins. So I think Minnesota is a team to keep an eye on too. The Bears with Justin Fields, depending on when he gets in from Andy Dalton, he might surprise people. Maybe the Bears get in. I mean, we got to be able to see how that defense plays. The Bears play up to when their defense plays. So if you get, Khalil Mack and squad, if they play great, Justin Fields doesn't need to play amazing. I mean, Rex Grossman, Jay Cutler, Jim McMahon. That's the past history. You know what I mean? You can do better. better guys out there. So I'm hoping Justin Fields balls out and ends up being the best quarterback the Bears have ever had. I want them to be competitive. And then the Lions, I don't expect anything from them. Still a kind of a shit football team. They don't got the pieces just yet. They got Jared Goff, not a lot of weapons at wide receiver. They got my boy, in the draft, Penei Sewell. And they had Crosby from the year before. So the offensive line is starting to look good. They got TJ Hawkinson, but I don't believe the Lions are doing anything. The Bears and the Vikings are the teams, and the Giants to kind of keep an eye on to see, how they progress. And it also depends if, Rodgers goes to Denver or not. If Rodgers goes to Denver, then the Bears and Vikings are battling it out for that championship crown of the NFC North. But if he stays, then it's definitely Green Bay. Bears aren't getting it at that point because you're going to lose too much. And then maybe the Vikings get in with a wild card. So that's kind of how I see it. Chiefs, Chargers, I got them going in, and then you got Ravens, Browns, I got them going in. Patriots should be in, and I like Miami Dolphins this year. Buffalo, I like them getting in. So that's kind of, and then for the South, I like the Colts and the Titans. Those are obviously the squads to keep an eye on. So that's pretty much all of them there, right? You got the Chargers and the Chiefs, right? You got Buffalo Bills and New England and Miami on that side, right? And South, you got the Colts and Titans. In the North, you got, Baltimore Ravens and Cleveland Browns. That's kind of how I see it. You're going to have some teams that are going to jump up, but that's why you got to look at like the Chargers and the Dolphins, where some people are like, oh, you're crazy. You think that they're going to make the playoffs? Well, someone's got to make the playoffs that's actually got a pretty good team that almost made it maybe last year, that's got to take the jump, and maybe some of the other teams that you think are going to be good, like Seattle and the Saints, they might scale back a little bit. Maybe Chargers step up a little bit, right? Maybe the Dolphins step up a little bit with Tua. Maybe Herbert takes his game to the next level. What if Danny Dimes and Saquon get in a good rhythm? Defense plays good. That's possible. San Francisco 49ers, Jimmy G, Trey Lance. What if the Niners start balling out and they play good? So the Niners are getting in. Dallas Cowboys could get in. I just have issues with the, defensive coordinator and Dan Quinn and the pieces. I mean, I like the rookie, from Penn State. I like DeMarcus Lawrence, but you lost Byron Jones. Who Byron Jones? Even though people think he sucks and he's overrated, he's paired up with Xavier Howard, in Miami. And I still think he's a top 20 corner. I'd take him on my team. A lot of people want to talk shit, but it is what it is. So the Titans got Julio Jones. Does that make them a shoo-in for the playoffs? Yes. They were already going to go to the playoffs, Lego my ego, before that. I mean, you got to think. They have Ryan Tannehill as my favorite non-superstar quarterback in this league. He's got top 10 quarterback stats. He's great. He's a baller. If you go back and look at the last 24 to 27 games, he ranks just right up there with Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson. I mean, he's right there. He's even playing just as good as Kyler Murray or Justin Herbert, if not better. Tannehill is the best non-superstar quarterback in the league in the NFL. And like I said, it's pretty damn good for a guy that played wide receiver at Texas A&M. Went to Miami, Adam Gase, and all these other people, and fucking just hated life, right? But now found his niche, and now he's balling out. But yeah, definitely it's all about Julio, A.J. Brown, King Henry. It's really not about them and Tannehill. It's about the offensive line and the defense. Defense is a liability. They got to go from horrible to bad average, or, not horrible, but bad, and then maybe average, above average, averagely bad. You know what I mean? It just can't be horrible, and they should be able to advance, and they could get as far as the AFC Championship game. But if you're going against the Chiefs, you're not going to win that game. Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. Tampa's the best in the NFC. The Rams and Packers today are the biggest threat to Tampa. And as far as the Chiefs, the biggest threat to the Chiefs right now are the Browns and the Bills. And that's facts. You got other teams like the Colts and the Titans and the Patriots and the Dolphins and the Chargers that should be good. But the Browns and Bills are established based on what they did last year. They got good, well-rounded teams on offense and defense, good coaching staffs, and they are the biggest threat to the Chiefs. But with that being said, still might not be able to beat the Chiefs because they're the fucking Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek the Freak Hill, McCole Hardman, right? Andy Reid, Honey Badger. Chris Jones, who? Chris Jones. Frank Clark. I know, man. Come on now. What are your thoughts on Matt Patricia? You think he'll take over this season? Belichick retires? I think they would give it to Josh McDaniels before Patricia. Why give Patricia? Let him be a coordinator or an exec. Let Josh McDaniels be the guy that takes over. He's earned it. He's been one of the best play callers in NFL history for quite some time. Went to Denver, didn't work out, but some guys are just better at calling plays rather than being the leader, right? But I think with the time spent now coming back, after leaving Denver and coming back and how great he's done, that's the guy that I would want, not Matt Patricia. Or if Vrabel got fired and he came back, it's like anyone that gets fired from New England and they have a connection with Belichick. Hey, come on back, we'll take you. But I don't think Matt Patricia's a good head coach. I think he's a good coordinator, good like assistant on the side. But Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia has more coaching aura. Like, he seems more of that like dad, grandpa, like father-y figure coach. Like Matt Patricia, he just looks like a coach, a guy that you could trust and you can back. But the thing is, he doesn't got the swag. He don't got the drip. You need to have someone like the Josh McDaniels, the drip, right? Sean McVay, the drip, Kyle Shanahan, the drip. All right? Cliff Kingsbury, the drip. All right? That young, fresh, guy that is in tune with the players and the music and the culture of everything that's going on. Not some old grandma, grandpa, guy. Someone that doesn't got the swag. So, it all depends on what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Every player has a niche. Every coach has a feel. It just depends on if you can connect and have a good GM and a good overall support system in the process. That's facts. But I'm going to end the stream. I just wanted to go for about 30 to 45 minutes. Appreciate everyone that hopped in the room. Louise, what does drip have to do with coaching? But the thing is, it's about the confidence, Louise. You know what I mean? It's about the confidence, and if you can relate to your players, right? And it's about just a mindset. If you got the swag, right? That's not having a Gucci belt, right? That's not just having certain clothes, certain things, certain headbands, certain, Gucci little, fanny packs. You know what I'm saying? The swag is from swagger, right? It's who you are. It's like an essence. You know what I mean? It's not the clothes or your lifestyle choices. You know what I mean? It's the confidence and the drip and the swag that you have in yourself. You know what I mean? That you carry yourself a certain way. But a lot of those guys that carry themselves that way and can connect with the players, they're the younger coaches, and those guys are the better play callers. You get those guys that are the better play callers overall. That's in my opinion. Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and, Cliff Kingsbury, you get certain guys, that can show you what they're really about on the offensive side. And look what Kyle Shanahan did with Matt Ryan. Took him to a goddamn Super Bowl. They didn't win, but they got there. Julio had a big season too. Lego my ego. Peace. NFL top 5. Hop on the bandwagon players before they get big. Number 5, Laviska Shenault Jr. for the Jags. Number 4, Brandon Ayuk. Pair him up with Deebo Samuel, and San Francisco 49ers got a stud. They're going to the playoffs this year with Trey Lance. Number 3, Chase Edmonds. Go to the bank and cash it out. Chase Edmonds, better than James the Terminator Kana. He is the best running back, other than I have one other that's not really known today, but you should. Chase Edmonds, fantasy sleeper, a guy that can get it done. Antonio Gibson, DeAndre Swift are 2 others. Number 2, Cam Akers. Number 2, Cam Akers is a player that people are sleeping on. I know Matthew Stafford coming in. They're the biggest threat to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Robert Woods, going to have a great season. Cooper Kupp, great season. But the one I'm looking forward to the most, Adventures with AG, great timing, Cam Akers, representing the Ramley. He can catch, he can run, he's a good receiver out of the backfield. He can do it all. And he played on a team in Florida State that had one of the worst offensive lines in planet Earth history. So he can get it done. I'm excited to see what he can do. Number 2, Cam Akers. And number 1, Julio's gone. It's time for Calvin Ridley. He could lead the league in yards. He could lead the league in touchdowns. He could lead the league in a lot of different categories. Catches, yards, touchdowns, yak yards. Who knows? Who knows? But I know Calvin Ridley is going to ball out. He's going to get more opportunities probably than any wide receiver this year, because you got to think Atlanta's going to be losing most of the time. And when you're losing most of the time, what are you doing? Are you running the ball? No, you're throwing. So there'll be a lot of garbage yards and garbage touchdowns for Calvin Ridley and Matt Ryan. So that's why I think that even though, you got DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler, and you got Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers if he plays there, and, Dak going to CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, there's other guys out there that maybe are more talented at a wide receiver, but I know he's going to end up getting targets. Targets is going to lead to opportunities, and opportunities are going to lead into points, and I know we're going to get that from Calvin Ridley, number 1. NFL Top 5. Hop on the bandwagon players before they get famous with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. And I got one question for you. Well, talk sports like us, your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. NWSF Chain Gang in the building. Peace.